No.
No, it couldn't.
I have no idea.
Yes. No, it couldn't.
I don't know.
No.
Oh, I have no idea.
No.
This huge building you see behind me is one of Ontario Power Generation's nuclear power generating stations. In essence, it's a factory that converts the energy of the atom into a flow of electrons, or what's commonly called electricity, the electricity that helps power the province. Nuclear, hydroelectric, and fossil fuel generating stations have many similarities in the way they generate electricity. Where they differ is their fuel source. OPG's nuclear stations use naturally occurring uranium that's processed into little ceramic pellets like this. An unused fuel pellet emits very little radiation. However, it holds the potential to produce a whole lot of energy. Just 8 of these pellets will power an average house for almost 1 year. The fuel pellets are sealed into metal tubes, which are then welded together to form a fuel bundle. Several thousand fuel bundles are then inserted into a large tank called a calandria, which is the heart of the nuclear reactor. Nuclear generating stations split the uranium atoms in the fuel in a process called fission, and the result is the release of a tremendous amount of heat. To unlock the heat energy in the uranium atoms, you need what's called a moderator. In CANDU reactors, a special kind of water called heavy water is used as the moderator. Heavy water is 10% heavier than ordinary water because it contains a higher than normal proportion of deuterium, which is a form of hydrogen. The heavy water surrounds the fuel bundles and slows down tiny particles called neutrons, so they are more likely to hit and split the uranium atoms. A chain reaction of atoms splitting ensures there is a constant source of heat to heat the heavy water. The heated heavy water is pumped through the reactor in a closed system to a set of boilers, where it boils ordinary water into high-pressure steam. The heavy water, having done its job, is recirculated back to the reactor to pick up more heat and cool the fuel. The high-pressure steam, made from ordinary water, is transported through pipes to a large turbine, where it pushes the blades and turns the shaft connected to a rotor in the generator, causing the rotor to spin. The spinning rotor is a large electromagnet that produces a rotating magnetic field. This field moves across coils of copper wire in the generator stator, producing electricity that can be sent across transmission lines. The steam coming out of the turbine is condensed back into water using cooling water from the lake and pumped back to the boilers to continue the process.
I think using nuclear energy has its good points, but overriding everything is our inability to dispose of the nuclear waste in a fashion that, is safe and keeps everybody from harm. So I don't think we should use it until we learn how to properly dispose of it without hurting the environment or people.
I am against it for regular use as in generating electricity because of the spills, of the accidents, nuclear accidents that can happen.
Should America replace the old resource by nuclear energy, and why? Well, what little bit I do know about it is that nuclear energy is much cleaner. France has about 80% of their power from nuclear energy, and as long as there's a containment system, it is relatively safe. Actually, it's very safe, and it's very clean. The problem with Chernobyl, when they had that massive accident, is they had no containment system. As a result, you did have radiation escaping and causing a lot of problems in the area. But even now, plant life and tree life is starting to come back to that area. So if the containment is good with a reactor, there's really nothing to worry about. It's extremely clean, efficient, and it can be very safe.
Solar, cellulose-based biofuels are the way we need to go. I do not favor nuclear power. We haven't built a nuclear power plant in decades in this country. There's a reason for that. The reason is extremely costly. It takes an enormous amount of time to get one planned, developed, and built. And we still don't have a safe way to dispose of the nuclear waste. And it's a huge problem for America over the long term. I also don't believe we should liquefy coal. The last thing we need is another carbon-based fuel in America. We need to find fuels that are, in fact, renewable, clean, and will allow us to address directly the question that's been raised, which is the issue of global warming, which I believe is a crisis.
Senator Obama?
I actually think that we should explore nuclear power as part of the energy mix. There are no silver bullets to this issue. We've got to develop solar. I've proposed drastically increasing fuel efficiency standards on cars, an aggressive cap on the amount of greenhouse gases that can be emitted. But we're going to have to try a series of different approaches. The one thing I have to remind folks, though, of, we've been talking about this through Republican administrations and Democratic administrations for decades. And the reason it doesn't change, you can take a look at how Dick Cheney did his energy policy. He met with environmental groups once, he met with renewable energy folks once, and then he met with oil and gas companies 40 times. And that's how they put together our energy policy. We've got to put the national interests ahead of special interests, and that's what I'll do as President of the United States.
Senator Clinton, what is Senator Edwards, why is he wrong on nuclear power?
Well, first of all, I have proposed a strategic energy fund that I would fund by taking away the tax breaks for the oil companies, which have gotten much greater under Bush and Cheney. And we could spend about $50 billion doing what America does best. It's time we start acting like Americans again. We can solve these problems if we focus on innovation and technology. So yes, all these alternative forms of energy are important. So is fuel efficiency for cars, and so is energy efficiency for buildings. I'm agnostic about nuclear power. John is right that until we figure out what we're going to do with the waste and the cost, it's very hard to see nuclear as a part of our future, but that's where American technology comes in. Let's figure out what we're going to do about the waste and the cost if we think nuclear should be a part of the solution. But this issue of energy and global warming has the promise of creating millions of new jobs in America, so it can be a win-win if we do it right.
In my opinion, I believe solar energy is a big one. Because it's clean, there's no waste from that, and it's here in Arizona, it's kind of a constant thing because we always have the sun out. So I believe solar energy is one, and of course, like rain harvesting, water energy, those type of things. I'm into the clean types of energy that they're talking about doing now. I think President Obama, today there was an article about him wanting the country to look into more alternative energies besides oil. But I believe solar here in Arizona is a big one, big energy resource. And like I said, you know, as long as people harvest water, recycle, things like that, I think that's the best way, far better than nuclear energy, which I believe gives off a lot of waste and is just a big problem waiting to happen. So.